Universal jurisdiction is a legal principle which allows international crimes, and these are crimes against humanity, crimes of genocide, um, crimes of aggression, and other such crimes to be tried in a local jurisdiction, even if that jurisdiction does not have any links to the crime, to the perpetrator, to the victim. So, so long as the state of that is willing to prosecute that case is able and willing to prosecute that case, you may use universal jurisdiction to facilitate that prosecution. Universal jurisdiction as a neutral principle may be implemented and practiced anywhere in the global south, in the global north, anywhere in the world that facilitates that kind of prosecution. So we have by and large seen cases being prosecuted, large number of cases being prosecuted in the global north, but that does not mean that these cases cannot be taken up in the global south. There have been a small number of prosecutions in other countries, in Senegal, in Kenya, in South Africa. We'd like to see more cases. There have been cases in Latin America as well. So these cases are showing us that it's possible to use universal jurisdiction in other places outside of the global north. And really, we should encourage and support more cases to be brought outside of the global north. South Africa is in the fortunate position in that there is a legal case which has established a precedent that universal jurisdiction cases may be brought in South Africa. This was as a result of a case called the National Commissioner of Police Services versus the Southern Africa Litigation Centre. And this case involved a situation where the police and the national prosecution authorities were reluctant to take up the prosecution of a particular case, which involved torture in Zimbabwe conducted by Zimbabwean perpetrators against Zimbabwean victims. The case started in 2008. And it has a long, long period of time during which there was liaison between the NGOs working on the case and the national prosecution authorities. Eventually, a legal case was filed asking the courts to demand that police open an investigation and to demand that the NPA prosecute individuals. This case went up through various layers of the court system, with the end result being that there is now a legal precedent in the country from the highest court saying that South African police must open investigations into universal jurisdiction cases, regardless of where those crimes took place, regardless of the nationality of the victims, regardless of the nationality of the prosecutors. Civil society all over the world have played a hugely important role in pushing and promoting the use of universal jurisdiction to file cases, to ensure that states prosecute cases. And this has been the situation in South Africa as well. Civil society has played a very prominent role in this process. And this is something which civil society is well equipped to do. And what we need to do is to encourage states to have a more active role in working with civil society because they are able to identify cases, they're able to prepare cases, they're able to assist the state to be able to prosecute universal jurisdiction cases, looking at international crimes. That case was finalized 10 years ago already. Even though the police did eventually open an investigation, nobody was ever charged. There have been no prosecutions which have commenced. And at this point, we're thinking that it's unlikely that we will see prosecution of those individuals that were originally presented in the docket to the prosecution authorities, which is a hugely disappointing situation. It's unclear whether the South African state will look to prosecute other cases based on universal jurisdiction. There are many cases at present in the country which could be ripe for prosecutions. Um, but going back to the particular Zimbabwean case that we're talking about, um, it seems unlikely that those prosecutions will in fact take place. I think it's important for states to be aware that they have an international obligation, and in some instances, even a domestic obligation, to prosecute, to undertake these investigations. States also need to be aware that we cannot, as a global community, create safe havens for perpetrators of international crimes. And by refusing to take up these cases, by refusing to open investigations, that's precisely what states are doing. They're creating safe havens for criminals, for individuals, for perpetrators who've committed international crimes, and that cannot be a situation which can be allowed to exist.